Hello everybody, it is me, Chasey Poo. Today I want to do kind of like a response video, but like a part 2 video, just something that I made a long time ago that I should probably remake. I made a video a while ago called How I Know I'm Trans, or How I Knew I Was Trans, and I kind of talked about, you know, all these different aspects of like me being younger and like my childhood and my relationship with my dad and my friends and stuff like that. But what I want to go into today is part 2. And it's more of how I knew I was trans, as in how, like, what solidified the need for transition for me? Like, how did I know that I needed to transition for sure? So that's kind of what I want to talk about. So I think it's super important that we talk about this, and I wish more people would make more videos about this, because I would love to know people's experience. Like, how did you know that this was right for you? Because I get a lot of comments like, how did you know you were trans? But also, how did you know that transition was right for you? So I want to talk about 2 specific things that really made me realize that this is who I am and this is what I need. So what really helped me, honestly, when I was younger is talking to other trans people online and seeing the way that they transitioned and the way that their lives were after they transitioned or while they were transitioning, and how happy they were. That right there made me think, oh my God, I could be happy. Because yeah, I was a happy teen and kid and stuff like that, but there was always something missing and I never knew what it was. And then, you know, I was a super tomboy and then I wasn't, and it was just, it was honestly, it was all over the place, okay? And I suffered a lot and mentally, and I didn't know what to do. But seeing people being able to transition, because like back then, hunties, like it was 2006. Okay, the only like trans representation that was out there was like none, you know? Like there was a little bit, and there was Boys Don't Cry, and you know, the character dies, and it's like, okay, so I can't be trans because I'm gonna die. That was the only reference that I had, which is not very good to have when you're young. I was 15 years old. So seeing other people live, you know, past 21, past 18 even, and seeing that they have lives, and especially seeing that they graduate from university and, you know, you can have a life. It really made me realize that I can do this. And it's not like, oh, it's too hard, I'm not gonna do it. It wasn't like that at all, ever. It was more like, it's too hard, I don't know if I can do this. Is this worth it to lose everything over my feelings and, you know, being happy? Yes, it is, okay? It was for me, and it took a lot of thinking, but I knew that diving in was going to be the only way that I could do it. And I don't recommend doing that. Like, oh, am I ready for tea? I don't know, let me try it. You know, don't do that. But I will 100% be honest and say that I don't know if I was ready when I started hormones. I was 19 years old, and not that there's an age thing, but I had a lot of things that I probably should have talked about and gone through and processed in therapy. But I am glad that I went on hormones at 19 and I started young, I guess, because now that I'm older, I'm like, damn, I was young, you know? But at that point, I'm like, oh, I'm so old. So it's interesting where we are in our minds and how we kind of relate to our bodies and our identities and where we are in like time and space. So it's really interesting. But anyway, seeing other people transition and being older and having a life and being married and having kids was like, someone punched me in the face with reality, and I was like, it is real. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to transition, I need to do this. And so I decided to go on T, and I told myself, if this isn't right and I don't feel right, I'm just gonna go off, and that's okay. And I was okay with that, and I pretended like the testosterone that was going in my body in the first year of my transition of testosterone was what my body was naturally producing. Yes, I had to inject myself, but in my mind, that's what it felt like. And that made me feel better, because for some reason, I didn't like the medical aspect of transition and being trans, the needles and doctors and nurses and medicine. I didn't like that. So imagining in my head that it was a natural occurring thing in my body made me feel better. And after a year, I decided to go off of T, and I felt like the changes were too fast and that I couldn't even recognize myself. And you know what? That's fine that's how I was, because I always told myself, listen to your body, listen to your mind. What do you need? Who cares about what other people think? So I went off of T, and I got a lot of shit online. Oh my God, our lesbian is coming back to us. And people thought I was detransitioning, and you know, that's not really fun, especially when it comes from your own community. But going off of T was something that I absolutely needed to do, and it made me feel good. And after about, I don't know, 8 to 10 months, I stopped passing. And I went to the grocery store, and a person went, Madame, Miss. And I was like, no, it's sir. And she was like, no, Madame. I was like, no, So she corrected me on me correcting her. And, you know, after being misgendered a couple of times, I realized, oh my God, no. No, I can't do this. It feels so good when I'm gendered correctly and when I'm pronouned correctly and when people see me as how I see myself. And I needed that 10 months of a break, I guess, in order to really realize that transition is something that I need and that I want. And then the second part of that is that I booked my top surgery in 2012 and I was getting ready for surgery. Beauty. And if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I wasn't ready and I felt like I booked it too quickly and I felt pressured because I know that a lot of my friends had been getting top surgery and I know that I needed top surgery, but I didn't know that I needed to be mentally ready. So I booked my surgery and then I couldn't, so I canceled it and I waited a year and oh my God, that year that I waited honestly is like a blessing because I had to bind for another summer and summers in Montreal are very moist and humid and wet and I was just melting the whole summer and realizing how much surgery would impact and change my life for the better, that's what solidified the you need to do this. And it really helped me to take that year to really think about surgery because it mentally made me ready. You can't just jump into things like this because everyone else is doing it. And that's what I've learned throughout my transition and something that I wish people would have talked about like in 2009. But no one did, and that's okay. And I'm sure that there is taboo related to this and people don't want this to go out and you know, they don't want people to have this information. You know what, whatever. This is my life and this is how I experience my life. And I definitely wasn't ready for top surgery. And so I canceled it. And then I had it the year later and it was one of the happiest days of my life. It was a horrible recovery and it sucked a lot for me. But to be able to feel free and ready was key. So for me, knowing that I needed to transition and that it was something that I absolutely needed meant that I also knew that I was ready. I know that that can seem a little bit confusing, but that's just how it feels in my brain. That's like, I wasn't ready, so I didn't do it. Or I wasn't ready and I jumped into it, so I stopped. And then I went back when I was ready. And then I booked my surgery, I wasn't ready, I canceled it, and then I booked it again when I was ready. And when I was ready, it made it so much better, and it made it taste better, you know, like victory. I felt freedom. And I feel like, yeah, of course I would have felt freedom if I would have gone to top surgery the year before, but I wouldn't have mentally been okay. I wouldn't have been ready for all the mental aspects that surgery brings onto, because I had never had surgery before, so it's a big deal. People are like, oh, top surgery, no big deal. It's a big deal. Just because like a lot of people have top surgery doesn't mean it's not a big deal. Okay, it's still a big deal. It's surgery. It's major surgery. They're taking skin off your titty, man. That year of reflection and self-reflection and kind of really realizing where I was at in my mind and kind of, I guess, maturing a little bit, really made me realize that that's what I needed. And I'm not saying that age has anything to do with it. Because I know people who are 16 that had top surgery and that's when they were ready, and that's great. Everybody's ready date and ready year that they are or age is not the same. My ready age for hormones was 20, not 19. My ready age for top surgery was 22, not 21. You know, for some people, their ready age was 4, 14, 60. It's different for everyone. So I want people to know that and understand that you're not alone no matter how old you are and how ready or not ready you feel. If you don't feel ready, take your time. No one's rushing you. And I think that we need to talk way more about that. Not that I think people are gonna detransition and regret things and make mistakes, but you know, I think that we rush into things sometimes and it's okay to just slow down and take a break and not feel pressured. This is your life, it's no one else's life, it's yours. You do what you need to do in order to make you happy because it's all on you. And I listened to myself and I'm so glad that I did, because the waiting is horrible, and it really like slapped me in the face like, oh my God, I need this. I need to transition. I need top surgery. So those are my experiences. If you have any similar experiences, I would absolutely love to talk about this in the comments below. Tell me about your stories and you know what you've been through. I know it's a bit taboo, so you absolutely don't have to share it if you don't want, but I would love to know if you have experienced something similar. All right, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye.